Hi everyone, okay, today we're going to have a quick look at using the Traciwr Dashboard. Really simple bit, we're going to have a quick look through what do the aspects and score systems actually mean, like how do they work, how you should set them up. So as you can see on the dashboard, I've got these two sections. I've got manage aspects and score systems. Now the manage aspects bit we'll look at first, and the key to this is that the manage aspects is basically what do you want to measure. So you can pretty much put anything in here, literally anything that can be measured. So we've got things like behaviour, attendance, that will obviously come through. A lot of time attendance will come through from your sync, but it can be sometimes useful to have as an aspect as well. We've got things like, I've got the AOLEs on here with the descriptors of learning. You might not want to use them in your school, but I've just made these entirely myself, okay? So I can make a new aspect. I could do anything on here, if I really want to, I can measure the shoe size. I could put, anything. I could just have like a literacy score. We could do, a spelling test aspect, if that makes sense. So this is just anything that we want to measure, that we know we're going to measure regularly. So I could have spellings, let's say spellings. I could create that. That will then get created. It's obviously on my second page here, so I'll just go onto another page so I can see its spellings there. You can see I've got things like well-being. I've got all sorts of different aspects on here. I can also add a descriptor to that, so I could call that could be our weekly spelling tests. So I could set that up as my as my aspect name, if that makes sense. It's got a bit of information in there as well. And what this basically means is it's what the aspects are the things where you're going to do some analysis with them, so you're going to measure them, if that makes sense. The next question is, how are you going to measure them? And that comes down to the score system. So if I go on the score systems part here, as you can see, I've got quite a few score systems already made. I've got things like my age standardized score that I use for my national tests. I've got things like attendance. I've got behaviour, which I've got outstanding, good, requires improvement, that kind of thing. I've got a progression steps, things that I created. There's loads of different ones on here. Again, you just make one from scratch, whatever you want to do. So however you want to score it, you can add it in here. So let's say this is my spelling test score system. So I can add that in. Now I could tick that if I just wanted to enable people to do numeric values. So if it was just like, it's always going to be, like 1 to 10, let's say, or 0 to 10, I should say. I can add that in like that. I can also, if I wasn't going to do it that way, which I probably will do that way, but I'm just going to show you how I could do it another way. So I could also say, if we were going to say, we're going to say that they're great at spelling, they're good at spelling, they're developing or something, I could add these in as well as my score system. I'd probably have it the other way around, actually. I'd probably start with developing and improve up to being great, if that makes sense. So I can do it that way, and I could colour these, I could say this is going to be a blue, good's going to be a green, and developing is going to be an amber. Again, you put in what you want. You put in how many you would like, different score systems. You can entirely control it yourself. As long as you can say, this score is better than this score, then you can go and put that information in. You might just have a completed, not completed. You might have a score system that's a standard test score system all the way up to 150 or 140, whatever it is. You can have those score systems set however you wish. Okay, so let's just delete those. We're going to do a spelling test one, and we're going to go 0 to 10. And also with that though, we're going to want to put in some colour ranges. So I can say 0 to 3. I'm going to mark as red. 3 to 5 for me amber. Oh, sorry, I've done that wrong place. 3 to 5 can be amber. 5 to 7 green, let's say. And then finally 7 to 10 can be blue. Okay, and that'll give that'll add those scores, those colour ranges. So when I'm using the system and it's Joe Blogs gets a 7, they'll come up as blue. They get a 4, they're going to come up as amber. That once that's set up in the system, that can now be used when we go and collect data. So that the score system and the aspect goes together. The aspect tells you what it is you're going to measure. The score system tells you how you're going to measure it. So when you're planning and building your dashboard up, you're going to need to think about that. What do we want to measure, and what are the score systems we want to use? And you need to think about things like, okay, you might use the same score system for something. So you might say, make a score system that was just age, let's say. And you might then use that for reading age, comprehension age, spelling age. But the question then becomes, do you want different colours on each of those? Because if you do, then you'd want to make a reading age one, a spelling age one, a comprehension age. If you're going to use the same colours across them all, you can just have one age score system. So that applies to a lot of these. You just have to have a little think about, the aspect, and then think about how you're actually going to use the score system, because that will apply then to how many you make. Okay, I hope that makes sense. We've got further guides coming out on all sorts of different parts of the dashboard, so keep up to date with them, keep having a look out for them on our channel. Thanks.